We welcome you back to this channel. Today we explore unexplained stories in the woods, where spectral figures on rocks, stealthy whispers, and lurking shadows defy reason. Join us in these tales of encounters deep in the forests. Go ahead, turn off the lights, and let's take one more step into the world of the unknown. In the first story, we venture into an ancient forest where a photography-loving couple finds a circle of stones with eerie symbols. What starts as an exciting exploration turns into a nightmare as ghostly figures pursue them.
Ancient rituals.
This is the closest I've ever been to what I believe were witches. At least, that's what I think. My husband and I love taking photos of nature, preferring remote places away from people, so we often have to travel far to find them. One weekend, we headed to a forest with the mission of capturing the sunset. It was a really ancient and huge forest, and we were completely immersed in the moment. It was getting close to evening when we arrived. We ventured into the forest to find a good spot to take sunset photos. As we ventured further, we came across some incredible scenes of nature, but in all the excitement, we didn't realize that we were going deeper and deeper, which could be risky. When we finally noticed how far we had gone, we decided it was time to turn back. But just as we were turning around, something caught my attention. We found this strange spot in the forest with big rocks set up in a circle, like a place where people might have lived long ago. There was a spot in the middle where they probably made fires. On each rock, there were weird symbols carved into them. I called my husband Gavin over to check it out. We thought it was pretty cool and wanted to take pictures of it. As we explored further, we saw the carvings on the rocks were kind of creepy, like pictures of fire and some woman with a snake body and a headless naked woman. It gave me a bad feeling, but we kept on snapping photos. There were also some old writing, but we couldn't understand it. And then I noticed handcuffs on the rocks, like they were used for something bad. As we were examining the surroundings, I suddenly had this eerie feeling like someone was whispering my name right next to my ear. I turned around expecting to see someone there, but there was nobody. I told my husband about it, but he didn't hear anything. I was sure I even felt a breath on my ear. It really scared me. I suggested we leave right away, but he was determined to take more pictures. I sat down and started going through the pictures we'd taken earlier, and I was completely shocked. In every single photo, there was this blurry figure lurking behind us. I thought maybe something was wrong with the camera lens, so I cleaned it and took a random picture of the woods. To my horror, that shadowy figure appeared again among the trees, where there was nobody in front of me. I freaked out and called my husband over to show him. He was just as confused and admitted that he also felt like there was someone with us. It was getting close to sunset, and I begged my husband to leave, but he brushed it off as my imagination and insisted on taking more shots. Then, out of nowhere, we started hearing these chilling cries, like a woman was crying hysterically. We looked around, and the sound seemed to be coming from the woods. My husband tried to reassure me that it was all in our heads, maybe just some nocturnal animal, but the cries kept getting louder and more frantic. And now, it wasn't just one woman's cry. It sounded like there were many. At that moment, we were both so terrified that we decided to ditch the photography and get out of there fast. The darkness had already set in, and then suddenly, fog started rolling in, enveloping everything. I got separated from my husband in the thick mist, and that's when I saw them. Among the swirling fog, I caught glimpses of shadowy figures, women dressed in ancient clothes that looked just like the images carved on the stones. Some of them appeared burned, others injured and bleeding. It was a horrifying scene that left me screaming in terror. Then, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was my husband. He pulled me away from that nightmare and practically dragged me to our car. I was completely shaken. I couldn't find the words to describe what I had witnessed or what had happened to us. I think that place was once the site of some dark ritual from ancient times, maybe involving the sacrifice of women. The figures we saw in the pictures and among the mist seemed like the souls of those women, trapped in that eerie place. It was all too much for me to process, and I was terrified to ever go back there again. But my husband, he wasn't convinced. He wanted to go back, driven by curiosity and the thought that we might have stumbled upon something that could make us famous and wealthy. So, reluctantly, I went with him the next day. But to our astonishment, there was nothing there. The big stones, the eerie atmosphere, everything had vanished without a trace. I still can't wrap my head around why we saw what we did, only for it to disappear the very next day. It's a mystery that continues to haunt me.
In the second story, you will hear the tale of a climatologist who ventures into a forest for a scientific mission. What seemed like a routine job turns into a desperate struggle to escape lurking shadows and unsettling whispers.
The Forest of Visions.
About 5 years ago, something very strange happened to me within a forest that I still can't explain, but I hope it doesn't happen to me again. My name is William. At that time, I used to work as a climatologist. We went with a team of 12 people to a remote forest to study wildlife and the effects of climate change on the ecosystem. Our team consisted of professionals, rangers, and other suitable individuals for that mission. I had a bad feeling, but after all I had to do was my job for 7 days. We went there, and the team guided me to the spot where we were supposed to be conducting our work. It was a quiet, deep forest, but then we had professionals for our protection from wild animals. During the daytime, everything seemed normal. We took samples, recorded data, and did other tasks. When the sun was about to set, the other team members, who were forest experts, set up temporary camps. However, when night fell, the real horror came. The forest seemed to come to life in a very unsettling way. So it all started when James, another scientist in our team, came to our tent where I was with some other team members. He looked scared and said he heard some strange sounds in his tent, sounding like local fauna. At first, we thought he must have been mistaken, considering we were in the center of a dense forest with no sign of life. However, we followed him to where he said he heard the sound coming from, and to our amazement, we heard it as well. A whisper among the trees that became more distinct, like muffled moans creeping through the air. Security members even tried to look deeper to see if there was someone, but there was no one, not even a sign. It was eerie. We discussed it for a long period, and then we just brushed it off as it was getting very late. But things didn't end there. The next day, we had all but forgotten about what happened the last night, but as the sun dipped down, strange happenings started again. Some team members claimed to have seen shadows lurking among the trees, while others insisted they saw team members venturing into the forest, but when they followed, there was no one there. It even happened to me. I saw James going into the forest, and I followed him. He went quite deep, and I was calling out to him, but he was not responding. Then he stopped and started laughing manically with his head down. It sent chills down my spine. I still remember that chilling gesture. And then I heard James calling me from behind. He was standing behind my back, and when I turned, there was no one there. That night was really difficult for me to pass. I couldn't sleep. By the fourth night, the feeling of being watched intensified. Everyone in the group had started experiencing it. We all began to lose sleep and sanity, tormented by disturbing dreams and fleeting visions of ghostly figures among the woods, just like I did. Some even started hallucinating and attacking each other. Considering the situation, we decided to leave earlier. At that moment, none in my group cared about money. We all just wanted to get out of that place before we ended up killing each other. But when we tried to leave the forest, we kept returning to the same point again and again, as if we were traveling in a circle. The maps did not match the terrain before us, as if the forest itself were changing to keep us trapped. It was as if the forest wasn't letting us go. We were all scared and praying. We didn't know if we would ever make it out, but we just kept trying. Finally, by sheer luck, we found our way back. None of us was able to explain what happened, but we all bore witness to it. I decided never to work in such areas ever again, as we do not know what lurks in there. Now, sometimes I think about what would have happened to us if we hadn't found our way back and what kind of energies or portal that was. Days later, I was told of a next group that was sent to finish the job. 2 members disappeared in the middle of the night, and to this day, not even their footprints have been found.
Finally, join us on a camping trip with 3 lifelong friends who encounter a tall, mysterious figure in the forest. Laughter and camaraderie quickly turn into panic as they are haunted by a supernatural presence.
The Mist Man.
Every time I recall this event, I can't help but tremble. It still scares me just to think about it. This happened to me 3 years ago. It was a weekend, and I had planned to go camping with my best friends Jack and Alex in a nearby wooded area. Most people don't venture into dense forests to camp, but we felt adventurous at the time, so we decided to camp a little deeper into the woods. We were in my car, it was getting dark, and we still hadn't arrived. The road was all empty at that time for some reason, maybe because of rumors of sightings of something supernatural on this road. We never gave any importance to people's gossip, so we just kept on driving. Then we saw a guy walking on the other side of the track. I still remember it wasn't clear because of the nighttime, but Alex did mention something funny about him that actually drew our attention towards him. We passed, but then something very weird happened. Another car passed by that person, and it illuminated the road. When that person received the lights, we saw him growing taller and taller, becoming an elongated figure. Then, in the blink of an eye, it moved and disappeared or transformed into fog. I didn't quite understand what had happened. We all saw it, and we couldn't believe it. I was scared, and I didn't dare to stop my car. We kept on discussing that guy. I was so scared that I even asked Jack and Alex to cancel the camping plan and go back, but they were not ready for that, even though it all happened near our camping area. We decided to camp anyway, but we canceled the deep forest plan. Instead, we went to a common camping area and continued with our stuff like setting up tents and a fire, trying not to think about what we had just seen. But things didn't end there. It was not the end of that thing. It kept chasing us. During the night, not long after we slept, I heard a strange sound. I don't know exactly what kind, but it was scary. I tried to wake up Jack and Alex, but they asked me to ignore it and just sleep. I tried, but the sound kept increasing. When I went out of the camp, I saw that same tall figure in the shadows approaching. I started screaming out loud. Alex and Jack came out to check. They took out the torch and checked, but there was no one there. They thought I was overthinking about the rumors and believing in ghosts, so they didn't believe me. We went back to our tent. I wasn't able to sleep afterward. I didn't feel safe and kept on having the feeling of being watched. Seeing that, Alex woke up, and for the rest of the time, we chatted a bit. Then, once again, I heard that voice along with heavy footsteps. I looked at Alex to see if he heard it too, and when I looked at his face, his expressions clearly told me that he heard it too. And this time, we saw that shadow too approaching the tent, taller than a normal human. We could see that in the light of the fire we lit in front of our tent. I don't know what that creature with a human-like body but taller, bigger, and quicker was. As we started shouting Jack's name, it vanished once again in front of our eyes within less than a second. No human or even animal could possibly do that. That was scary as hell. I know all of us were really very terrified. When Jack saw our situation, he believed us right away. We decided not to sleep the whole night. We stayed alert all night and waited until dawn. It was so difficult to pass that time. The whole night, we kept hearing those footsteps around our tent, as well as seeing that shadow, but we didn't dare to get out. As soon as it was dawn, we left the place the next moment and drove straight to our homes. We were quiet the whole journey, as we were too scared and had no idea what happened to us. We knew that nobody would ever believe us. Maybe the firelight saved us from that creature. Well, whatever the reason was, I'm glad that all of us made it out safely.
Thank you for journeying with us through the dark passages of these stories. If you enjoyed them, give us a like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss more tales of terror. Visit our channel to discover more incredible stories and let the fear continue. Remember, in the shadows, there are always more secrets to unveil. Until next time, where fear will once again be your companion.